The gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. In your testimony, you briefly talked about an alternative to securitization, and that is covered bonds. Paul Kondrowski is not here right now, but he and I dropped in a bill this past week. It's H.R. 4884. I wonder, A, whether you've looked at that.
Haven't yet looked at it, but I will. And I would say that I understand. I know that you've been a long proponent of this issue of covered bonds. We do have a current covered bond system in the FHLB today.
But this is a structured statutorily, so
yeah, it is. But anyway, happy to work with you on that. And I think looking at the covered bond model will be an important part of looking at the reform agenda.
And would that be something that we would help if we can get that done sooner this year rather than later?
It's possible. I don't know. Again, my basic feeling, like many argued when we were looking at financial reform of the private financial system in the United States, you want to look at comprehensively at the full complement of institutions, policy issues involved in this area. But again, happy to work with you on that part of reform.
Great. A couple of weeks ago, I'm back now to the GSEs, like everyone's talking about. We had the hearing here at the Budget Views and Estimates. I introduced an amendment that went down along party lines, which would basically put the GSEs on budget and apply the $1.6 trillion of GSE debt should be subject to the debt limit. Okay. Back then, I asked Chairman Bernanke was here. I asked him this opinion of this, and I also asked him another question, and I'll ask you the same question. Is the debt of the GSEs sovereign debt?
Congressman, you know this is a very technical question, the appropriate accounting treatment of Fannie and Freddie and their obligations. So let me just give you two responses on this.
Yes and no?
Determining the appropriate accounting treatment of these obligations, we have followed the advice of accountants. GAO agrees with the judgment we've made, does not think it's appropriate for us to consolidate. We followed that basic model. On your second question, let me repeat again what I said in my statement, my both written statement and my oral statement. We will do everything necessary to make sure these institutions have the capital they need to meet their commitments.
And I understand that from reading your statement, but it's really a basic question, and I'm not a Treasury Secretary or the Chairman of the Fed, and even Chairman Frank, not even, but Chairman also recognizes and he understands the difference because in his statement he says, I, meaning the Chairman, have noted that Fannie and Freddie debt did not have the legal standing as Treasury debt. So he recognizes that there is a distinction between sovereign debt and GSE's debt.
Absolutely, they are different, but again, I want to emphasize again in saying they are different that I want to make sure that you understand again, I say this clearly as possible, we will make sure that they have the financial resources necessary to meet their obligations.
Okay, so, and I understand that, and the Chairman says the same thing, that he and many others want to make sure that that's being done. Although the Chairman did say, I believe, throughout the debate, we will make sure that there is no implicit guarantees, hints, suggestions, or winks or nods. We will be explicit at what is and what is not an obligation of the federal government. So with the debt that we're incurring since this has all happened going forward, is that on the same standing as the existing debt that is out there? In other words, are we...
Debt issued by the GSEs?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. So when he says that we should have no implicit guarantees, hints, suggestions, winks, or nods, we are nodding and winking and guaranteeing that debt as well.
We're not doing any nodding and winking. We're saying very clearly, and I'll say it over and over again, we will make sure, using the authority Congress gave us, that these institutions have the ability to meet their obligations, present and future.
So the Chairman is incorrect when he states that there is a distinction between the debt that these have and sovereign debt.
I don't think so. Well, no, as I said, and of course you know the answer to this question, they are different types of obligations. But again, I want to make it clear you understand that we will use the authority Congress gave us to make sure they can meet their commitments.
I do, and okay. So what I'm hearing is it is not sovereign debt, but it is debt that we will stand behind.
Well, I'll repeat it. I'll try and say it the same way every time I said.
Is it sovereign debt?
No, as I said, it's not sovereign debt in that sense.
That's good. That's really all I needed to know.
But again, I want to make sure
it's not sovereign debt, but it's debt we're going to stand behind.
Well, we are going to make sure that these institutions have the resources they need to meet their commitments, past and future.
Right. So as I've heard it, and I understand it, it is not sovereign debt, but it is debt that we're going to stand behind, and because Congress has given you that authority to stand behind that debt.
For very good reasons, yeah.
Okay. And I still have 30 seconds left. The,
No, 3.
excuse me?
You had 3 seconds left when you said that. We'll make it 10 more now.
Do you have any comment to the fact that Bloomberg is reporting that the bond market is saying that it's safer to lend to Warren Buffett than this administration right now because of the spreads?
I don't agree with that comment, and I would say the following, which is that it is very important that the Congress work together to make sure we put in place over time a set of policies that will bring down our fiscal deficits to a more sustainable level. And that's very important to the strength of this recovery. It's going to be very important to future growth of the American economy. And we look forward to working with members on both sides of the aisle to develop a political consensus to bring those deficits down to a sustainable level.
Thanks.
Gentleman's time has expired.